A very, very warm welcome to St Peter Mancroft Church here in the heart of Norwich. I'm Edward Carter, the vicar here. Every Wednesday at 1 o'clock we have a reflection, a live-streamed reflection. So if you're here in the church, do carry on looking around if you like, or enjoy the few words I'm going to offer. If you're watching online or catching up later on, thank you for listening in as well. Well, of course, actually, this is the first of our reflections. We have them every week, the first of our reflections for a new year, 2024. So I hope 3 days in, the year is going well for you so far. Happy New Year. It's a chance, of course, as the year turns, isn't it, to just have a pause, perhaps, have a think, take stock, maybe reflect on how 2023 went. I'm sure it included a great variety of things for you. It certainly did for me. Did your hopes come to fulfillment? Maybe completely or maybe partially. Were there any surprises? It's one thing to have hopes and expectations even, but also surprises are a part of life. So maybe there were some of those as well. But hopefully last year was a good one, and this year will be as well. Some of the newspapers, of course, do a review of the year. It's a nice way to fill a few pages of the paper just as the old year dies and the new year begins. And in fact, we tend to do one here at the church as well. It's usually prepared a little bit into the new year as we have our annual meeting. And of course, often as part of an annual review like that, although there are many other things as well, it does include people who've sadly died within the year that's gone. And that is the case here at the church. I'm sure it might be the case for you in your own situation in life as well. But in terms of the newspapers and the national story about those who died in 2023, I did pick out one or two names. Tina Turner, great singer, of course, she died last year. Henry Kissinger, different kind of person, the US politician, statesman, he died last year. Sinead O'Connor, another singer and entertainer, but also a kind of public voice in a way. She lent her voice to various interesting things. Mary Quant, great fashion designer in a way. She was the one who kind of created the 1960s, at least visually. Amazing, but she sadly died last year. Now, someone else I've discovered as I had a little look, Yevgeny Prigozhin. Well, he was the one who just died in a mysterious plane crash in August. Some have claimed that it was something to do with the complications in Russia. Putin, perhaps, might have had a finger in that. Who knows? Many others, of course, sadly died last year. Maybe even some of your family or friends. I had a cousin, Sue, who died last year, sadly, although she'd lived to quite an age. But there is a sense, is there not, of history passing, of another year passing, people's lives passing by. And of course, as history passes and people do die, new people are born. And then I ask myself the slightly crazy question, well, which famous people were born in 2023? Sounds like a silly question to ask. Of course, if you Google that kind of thing up, what you get is celebrities having babies, which in my book doesn't count at all. I mean, okay, of course it's a new person, a precious baby is born, but just because the parents happen to be a celebrity doesn't mean that they necessarily should be famous or achieve anything in life. They should be allowed to live their life freely, of course. So setting those to one side, nonetheless, it is true that there will have been some very significant, famous to be anyway, people born last year. They'll still be not even 1 year old at the moment. They'll just be a few months old. They're basically babies. But there will be people who will become famous and who will contribute to history and who were born last year. And while we don't know what the future will bring, and we don't know who those still babies at the moment, who those famous people will be, nonetheless, we know that the years do pass by. We know that for us, this is another new year. We have our own futures laid out in front of us. We too, along with everyone else, should be filled with expectation, with hope, with a sense, I hope and pray, of delight about the gift of life and the gift of another year unfolding before us. But I think there's something else quite important as we reflect on those who've died and those who've been born and our own lives. I think there's something important about the way in which we should be reminded that one generation does hand on to the next. As each generation rises, it does its own things, it achieves its own things. Sometimes it messes up in its own way, but it does inevitably hand on to the next generation as well. We see this, of course, in our own families, do we not? We have our own parents or our own family situation in which we grew up, and all those family traditions that are handed on. But it's not just a family thing. The organisations, the groups that we belong to. Perhaps we're passionate about drama or whatever it might be. We might be members of a group. We might go out for puddings every now and again with a group of friends. Who knows? And those groups are precious, a part of life. And they hand on their traditions and customs as well, from generation to generation. And it's true of the world also. Each generation that rises and passes has a great bearing on the things that happen in the world. I've read a book quite recently called Legacy, which speaks about this very thing. It's actually by an economist, Dieter Helm, but it's not a boring book of economics at all. It's a book called Legacy, as I say, thinking about a sustainable and a hopeful future. And it lays great stress, I was really interested to see, on the idea of the next generation. The next generation. I've never heard an economist speak about the idea of the next generation before, I don't think. But I was so delighted to find this. The next generation. You see, the next generation is real. It is those babies and children who have been born and who are growing up. It is people who we know, people around us. The next generation, it's real, it's tangible, it's not some far-off thing 1,000 years on. And we have that emotional bond, therefore, with the next generation. For better or for worse, they are the people that we will hand things to. We are handing things to. And so I'm enjoying that book called Legacy, but also these themes made me think of some of the Psalms in the Bible, which I, as a vicar, I read the Bible every day and pray with the Psalms. And just listen to these words from Psalm 78. We will tell to the coming generation the glorious deeds of the Lord and his might and the wonders he has done. The whole beginning of that Psalm 78 is all about the next generation handing on the story of God, the promises of God, the way in which God is with us, generation by generation by generation. And so the past is connected to the future, which is, of course, a wonderful and glorious thing. And we are part of that connection. So, whatever 2023 brought for you, may I wish you a very happy new year for 2024 and many blessings. And may I wish you well as you, with me, play your part in handing things on to the next generation. Thank you for listening to my short reflection. These reflections happen every week on a Wednesday. You're very welcome to join us next time as well. Thank you.